What's happening, guys? It's Jeremy Blanton with RE/MAX Southern Shores, and today I just need to take some time and kind of reflect a little bit on this last year and what's coming up. Now, this last year, it has just been one heck of a crazy wild ride. We have seen everything happening in the market, and people are wanting me to predict what's going to happen as we go into 2024. What's going to be the outcome? What's going to be happening? Is market going to go up? Is market going to go down? Are prices going to crash? Are interest rates going to go up even more? What exactly is going on, and what the heck can we expect in 2024? Well, the other day, I spent some time on a webinar with my real estate coach. Yes, I'm coached through a program, and it's one of the largest ones in the country. He has probably 25 to 35,000 agents across North America and Canada that are in his coaching program. And every year at this time of year, he likes to do what he calls his bold predictions. And so he shared some stuff that I thought was pretty good. In fact, so good that I'm going to share some of that today with you as to what I think is going to happen this next year. So before I get into it though, I just want to kind of recap a little bit of this last year. And what you've seen online probably has had you wondering, what the heck is going on in real estate? What's going on with the market? Is buying a house right now a good idea? Should I sell my home? What should I do? You know, when you see some crazy signs that are going on. In fact, let me share a few of them with you on the screen here. So first, here's one from the Wall Street Journal. And what did the Wall Street Journal say? There's never been a worse time to buy instead of rent. It's now 52% more expensive to buy than to rent. Or how about this one from Fortune? Housing market is starting to crack. Sellers are cutting prices at record levels. Then there's this one. Home prices are falling. Yet, when you look at this graphic, Zillow, Freddie Mac, and Black Knight, who are three of the biggest data companies out there in the real estate industry, all post that values have actually gone up since February. Then there's this one from CNBC. The average 30-year fixed rate hit 8% for the first time since 2000, which was followed up right behind it by this one. Mortgage rates hit the lowest level since September. I know, guys, you're probably thinking, what the heck is going on? What is happening in the market? And you're probably just as confused now as I've been for the last few months trying to make sense of how all this is going on. Well, during the bold predictions that my coach did, he brought on Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. And the two of them had a very candid conversation as to what's happening in the market, what to expect over the next few months, and all through 2024. So let's take a minute to talk about that. So Lawrence shared some news that I think you're gonna find as a good affirmation and feel positive about the market going into this next year. So to let you understand what he was saying, I'm gonna let you just listen to this clip.
They're essentially telling the Fed, look, economy is beginning to slow down. Inflation is calmer, much calmer than before. There are some issues with some community bank. It is time to cut interest rates. So I think the Federal Reserve is probably going to cut interest rates 3 or 4 times. The bond market is anticipating that move and has pivoted already. Consequently, mortgage rate approaching 7%. Now, let's remember, consumers have new reference point. They saw that 8% rate. So when they compare 7% with 8%, they said this is improvement compared to, say, 1 year ago when the mortgage rates were hitting 7%, but their reference point were 6% or even 3 or 4%, and they said 7% is way too high. So as mortgage rate goes down to 7%, it will look favorable, but I think it's going to go even below 7%. 6.5% in spring, I think that's a distinct possibility.
So where did the buyers go this last year? Honestly, they didn't just go away. A lot of them just put everything on pause. When interest rates went from 3% up to 8% in just a matter of a few months' time, everybody kind of went, whoa, hold up, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna buy right now. Because what it did is it took houses, yes, some of the areas we saw values of homes go down a slight bit, but if you look at this graphic, you're gonna see some really interesting stuff. When you look at it here on the 3% versus the 7%, there's a huge difference in your monthly payment. Yes, the value of the home went down $20,000, but in the long run, you're spending close to $2,000 a month more each and every month for the mortgage payment. It made houses that people were going to buy no longer affordable. You're either gonna have to buy something of lesser value or just pause. So a lot of people just said, hold on, we're gonna pause. And that's where we are now today. What we have seen though over the last several months is rates that hit that 8% have started to slowly come down. I got a recent text message from my local lender, Erica, and she shares every week what are the average national rates for interest on mortgages. And a 30-year fixed is the one I always kind of use as my gauge on it. And this last week it was 7.09. As of today, I've seen several lender friends sharing on social media that rates for the first time are now in the sixes. They've gone under the 7% mark. As Lawrence Yun shared and also my real estate coach shared, they both feel that as we head into 2024, the first part of the year might be a little slower, but as we get to the middle part of the year and also into the fall with an election and everything else going on, we should start to see rate cuts start to take place. And we might see rates get back down closer to 6% or maybe under it a little bit to the end of the year. Why is this going to happen? They have to try to stimulate the economy again. When inflation started to take off, they had to raise the interest rates to kind of balance out the market and keep everything in balance. But now inflation has started to come back down again, and as inflation drops, so will those interest rates. What both my coach and also Lawrence Yun shared is that once rates get back into that 6% mark, that seems to be the sweet spot. Now, how do I know this is the case? Most of your new home construction builders in the area run promotional credits where you can buy down the rate when going through them and getting the mortgage through them as well. What is the rate that I've seen lately on everything? 5.99. That seems to be the sweet spot where if a house has a rate at 5.99, it's selling fairly quickly and going off into pending and into closed. So once we get to that 5.99 or right around 6 rate, I think we're going to see a very, very different market here in the area. So as you can see here from this graphic, predictions from Mr. Buffini state that as we go into 2024 and into 2025, rates should be into that sweet spot. Back in 2020, when you look at rates then, they were averaging about 3.72. Then we had that wonderful global pandemic that took place, and they lowered down to stimulate the economy to make it happen. They dropped down to 3.22. In fact, I remember having at one point a rate on my house at 2.8. It was amazing. I love it. I still have that house today. But as you can see then, when inflation took place, they had that huge peak that went up and increased to 8%. That peak already has started to fall. So here's something else that I want to share. You know, back last year I mentioned a couple times, if you're thinking about buying a house, I wouldn't wait. And people said, oh no, the market's going to crash. Rates are going to go up, which they did, but house prices because of that are going to crash down. Unlike back in 2007, 2008, when the market completely tanked and crashed. That was a financing crisis. This time around, we didn't have it. We had a world pandemic that took place, and that caused a lot of this changes in rates and inflation and all of the different things that took place over the last few years. And we're slowly starting to see that balance out. As the balance comes, rates are going to go back into line with where they were before all the pandemic. And as that takes place, the consumers are going to continue to buy. Now, during the last 7 to 8 months when interest rates have gone through the roof, Lawrence Yun shared this information, which I found very, very interesting. So during the last several months, while rates went up, 7 million newborn babies were born. 3 million marriages took place. 1.5 million divorces. Hey, I'm not questioning anything. 7 million people turned 65 years old. 4 million deaths took place. 4 million new net jobs, and 50 million people switched jobs. So what does that mean? It means that there is a huge pent-up demand of sellers who have just been waiting for rates to start to get better. So as rates come down in the second quarter of 2024 and moving forward, what does that mean for the market? It means that we're going to see demand start to go back up. People who've been holding on the sidelines saying, let me just wait and see, well, they're seeing now things are coming back and they're ready now to move because they have to. They're tired of having that job where they live an hour away from it and have to commute every day. So they want to get closer. Or they've added a child to the house and they now have 5 children living in a 3-bedroom house. It doesn't work very well. Or maybe they went through a divorce and in the divorce they got the big 3,000 square foot house for one person and they no longer need it and can't afford to continue making the payments. All of these things are going to be determining factors are going to make the market get stronger as we go into 2024. As those sellers start to sell, well, a lot of them, they're going to have to buy again. And that's also going to then bring the buyers into the market. So there's going to start to be an additional amount of competition. Now, what does that mean with competition? That means more buyers in the market. That means more people competing for the same house that you want to buy today. So that's why I'm explaining to people, you know, if you're thinking about it, maybe the first quarter of 2024 is a good time to go. Even with the rates being a little bit higher, it's okay. A lot of your lenders now are going to give you either introductory rates where it's going to be lower to start and the opportunity to refinance in the near future when rates do go down. Or you can go with like a new build where they're giving you the 5.99% and get that good rate to start right now. But I would highly recommend, if you're thinking about buying, doing it now because inventory has not really gone up. We're still sitting at 3.6 months inventory. I checked it today in the MLS. Anything less than a 6-month rate is going to be considered a seller's market. And we're going to see that as more buyers return, that inventory is going to go back down, making competition worse, which means you're going to go back to seeing multiple offers. You're going to go back to seeing houses selling in 24 to 36 hours. You're going to see people asking for highest and best and a house listed at $400,000 going for $425,000. You're going to start to see those things take place, and especially if you're a buyer that's in the market right now or a first-time home buyer that's thinking about it and you don't have huge down payments and you're going to be doing government-assisted financing, you're going to run into trouble. Because what I found the last time we went through this, just last year, those offers were the ones that didn't win usually in a competition. The people who came in with cash or with a large chunk of money that they were putting down usually ended up winning the offer over those. Even if the offer was giving more money, they were still losing to someone else because they were a stronger qualified buyer. So these are some things you definitely want to take into consideration. So in closing, what am I trying to say? As my lenders have told me for the last year, tell people, marry the house, date the rate. If you find a house right now that's on the market that you absolutely love, go ahead and purchase it, because what they see in the future is better rates coming, and you can always go back and refinance at that time. But that home that's available right now that you fall in love with, that more than likely is not going to be here in another 6 to 8 months. Somebody's going to come along, they're going to pick it up, and you're not going to be able to purchase it. So if there's a house that you absolutely love, marry it, buy it now, get it secured, even at a little bit higher rate, pay that little bit of extra money for the next maybe 6 to 8 months, and then refinance it and save money moving forward. As the lenders say, marry the house, date the rate. So these were the reports and predictions that came from Brian and from Lawrence, and I have to say I kind of agree with them. I think this is what we're going to see as we go into 2024. I think it's going to be a very strong middle and end of the year. The things like the election coming up are definitely going to play into that, because both sides are going to want to do whatever they can to stimulate the economy and show that their side made the economy what it is today as we get into the big election. They're going to do everything they can to make it more popular and give them maybe a slight edge going forward. So as those rates go down, as the economy continues to get stronger over the next several months, buying a house might become even a little bit trickier and take a little more effort to do. So if you can afford to buy it now, go ahead, get things moving. If you're needing help buying it, guys, as I share all the time, my contact information is down below. I'd love to help you with it. And as I always say, if you like this video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, get that bell on, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.